Umpire Mag feed, and I can't wait to go across the pond to listen to Across the Pod, fresh out of Wales. Special stuff. Cheers.
Hello everyone, Andy here, and here's what you can look forward to in today's episode. In today's episode, I was joined by Denver Broncos fan Toni Afoke as we look ahead to the team's upcoming season. Toni discusses the team's off-season.
To get a talent like Jaylen Waddle is worth it, and I think it elevates our team to a next level.
I asked Toni about quarterback Bo Nix's return from injury. But if he comes back fully healthy and nothing's too bad, then I do believe that he can just grow and grow. And much more as Toni predicts the team's end of season record in our win-loss or tie segment. Hope you all enjoy. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Across the Pod NFL podcast. I am as ever your host Andy Davis, and today's team in focus, as you can see from the title of the episode, is the Denver Broncos. And with me, I've got a returning guest. He was on last season's Broncos season preview. Back on the show is TalkSport's Toni Afoke. Toni, it is great to have you back on. How are you?
I'm good. Really excited for the upcoming season and really excited to talk to the Denver Broncos once again.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting season. I mean, obviously, we all know what happened last year. There was a team that came so close to reaching a Super Bowl. Are the scars still there from last January?
Do you know what? For me, the scars are not there because now with everything that's happened with the offseason, it's more excitement and it's more expectation. Like, we'll get into this further in the pod, but I'm more excited about the new seasons ahead rather than thinking what could have been last season. Yeah,
that's fair. I mean, I think you probably have to see it that way because it doesn't help at all anyway. I don't think if you keep thinking about what could have been. But there also is probably in the back of your mind, or some Broncos fans' mind, the fact that you could have been playing. If you had your starting quarterback playing in that game in the AFC Championship, then who knows?
Yeah, exactly. I feel like we could have won the whole thing if Bo Nix never got injured. But hey, mate, that's why there's this year, right?
Yeah, I mean, I will say I don't think you'd have beaten the Seahawks personally. I think whoever played in that Super Bowl, whether it's the Patriots or the Broncos, I think it's very hard to have seen any team in the whole AFC, to be honest. Maybe the Bills, if Josh Allen really becomes Josh Allen. I couldn't see many teams beating the Seahawks or even the Rams, if I'm honest. I still think, even though you might have won that game, I still think you might have lost overall to the Seahawks. But that is all in the past. We're now looking into the future. So looking at the ins and outs in the offseason, you traded for the guy who's very behind me right here, whose jersey's right there in Jaylen Waddle, joining from the Dolphins. You also re-signed the likes of Alex Singleton, Adam Prentice, Jaleel McLaughlin, Lil Jordan Humphrey, J.K. Dobbins, Tyler Badie. But you did let go the likes of Dre Greenlaw, Marquez Cox, Garrett Nelson, Juice Vaughn, Blake Cotton, and Amari Harvey. But you did extend the likes of Quinn Miners, Jonathan Cooper, Patrick Surtain, and also Ben Powers. And in the draft, your first two picks were traded away. So your first pick came in the third round as you took defensive tackle from Texas A&M, Tyler Onyedim. Took the likes of Jonah Coleman and Cage Casey in the fourth round, Justin Joly in the fifth, and then in the seventh round, you took Miles Scott, Dallin Bentley, and Red Murdoch. Toni, for you, overall, your take on your team's offseason?
I've really enjoyed our offseason. I would say at first, before the draft was happening, we were all thinking, okay, we've got a late pick in the first. How are we going to get a weapon that's going to help us take it to the next level? And I think the best thing we could have done is trade for that guy in Jaylen Waddle. I think there was no first. I think the receiving class was good this year, but where we were picking, there was no way we could have got any of those good receivers. So to sacrifice a first and a third to get a talent like Jaylen Waddle is worth it. And I think it elevates our team to a next level. The one out I would say, which kind of hurts, is John Franklin Myers. For a Broncos fan, John Franklin Myers was a guy in our D-line who came in and always made plays. And so we will miss John Franklin Myers, but that's that's now for Tyler Onyedinma to step up and help that D line and become the player that maybe we think he can be. Dre Greenlaw is a bit of mixed motions because the name Dre Greenlaw didn't equate to what Dre Greenlaw did. I think because he came in as like week 6 or week 7, had a couple good games for us, but overall it just wasn't enough, and it just wasn't the Dre Greenlaw we saw in San Francisco. So even though I would say we are light in our linebacker room, just in comparison to everywhere else, I think top to bottom we are stacked, but maybe linebacker is maybe somewhere that we could maybe improve on. But Alex Singleton's come back, who had a really good season as well. Red Murdoch can push for a place. You've got Justin Sternad as well, who started a lot last year while Drake Greenlaw was out. So I'm very happy with the offseason. I feel like we've done the right things. We've added in our draft as well, Jonah Coleman, another running back who's really good pass protection wise. So I think with him, JK and RJ Harvey, I think our running room is set now for the first time. So I think we'll have a good running game. And yeah, like overall, I think we made the best out of the situation we had in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, you could have gone out and got a receiver in the first 2 rounds, but I always say this: you're not guaranteed to get a player that's going to be up to the NFL level with a draft pick. I always think I've always opted. I think what the Rams do, I think, is kind of what I would like to do as a GM if I was ever a GM, because I think, yeah, you can have these draft picks. Yeah, you can have the first round pick. You could have used it on, let's say, Mekhi Lemon, for example, but you can't guarantee he's going to go into the league and be a pro, because even the best college players don't always work out in the NFL. Whereas you got someone like Jaylen Waddle coming in, loads of experience. We know he can play well at the NFL level, and I think he's proven that he can be a more than very good wide receiver too. I think obviously Courtland Sutton and him are going to be batting. You'd like to think Courtland Sutton will be the number 1, but Jaylen Waddle has been a number 2 receiver his whole career and excelled. So I think I would much rather go for the experience player who's proven it in the NFL than take a risk on a draft pick. Even the most highly touted prospects don't always work out. But no, interesting off season, and it also comes down to Bo Nix, the quarterback who we mentioned at the start of the show, got injured in the divisional round, which meant he missed the AFC Championship. Jarrett Stidham went in his place. Now, before we get on to the off season for Nix, I want to ask where you were when you found out that news, because that game was on, I think it started around 9 p.m. and I went to bed pretty much as soon as the game ended. I didn't stay up past that. Midnight came. I think the game ended around midnight. Went to bed and I kind of thought nothing of it. And then there was a game on in the morning, so I kind of watched that and never really thought about an injury to Bo Nix. And then next thing I know, I've watched a late game. I've turned on my phone and I've seen my phone blow up with Bo Nix's injury. So where were you when that happened? Because that must have been one hell of a shock. Were you still up when the news broke, or were you?
Yeah, so that I was in Morocco actually. So it was during the I think it was just before the AFCON final. So yeah. I was watching it in Morocco with my mate, and watching the game, back and forth game, crazy game for the neutral, but for me it was just a crazy game in general. And it goes on. We win the game, and you see Bo's reaction. It wasn't like, I've just beaten Josh Allen and the Bills, we're going to the AFC Championship game. He looked sad, and then 20 minutes later, it just breaks that he's out for the season. And I just fell to my knees because I knew we weren't going to win the AFC Championship game. I knew as soon as Bo Nix is out, and this is no disrespect to Jarrett Stidham, but there's a reason he's the quarterback, he's the backup. And I just knew that was our season done. And obviously you want to be optimistic. I still watched the AFC Championship game, but I felt like that was just a waste of time. But it was just a sad way to do it, because I think Broncos fan would have come in and more confident. Like, that's our first AFC Championship game since 2015 against the Patriots. And like hosting it at home, you just want Bo Nix to be there and Bo Nix to play. And the fact that he didn't get to do it, it was a really sad moment, because it was just the way it happened. Like, it didn't happen during the injury obviously happened during the game, but when people get injured in the game, you see it and you like mentally prepare for it. We were just on such a high of, oh my gosh, we've beaten the Bills. Oh my gosh, we're in the AFC Championship game. And then Sean Payton comes out in the press conference and said, yeah, Bo's out. Like, Jarrett Stidham's going to have to play. practically that's our season done. So it was really just such a roller coaster moment, but he seems to be okay now. And as we say, and we'll talk about Bo Nix later, because one thing I can do is talk about Bo Nix all day.
Yeah, what time was that in Morocco? I'm not very good on the time difference. What time of day were you watching that game?
Oh, it was definitely past midnight. I want to say, is Morocco like it's like an hour ahead from what I remember. I think Morocco's like an hour ahead, so it was definitely like 1, 2 a.m. I remember I was up quite late watching that game, but I made sure it was just like my team against the Bills. I just had to watch it.
I'm looking at it now, and it's telling me the current time is the same as what it is now, but it's saying it's also 1 hour plus GMT. I'm confused by what Google's saying because I've just Googled.
Maybe because we're an hour ahead, so like British summertime, our clocks go forward, and so because the game was in January, so they'll probably. So we were just an hour ahead of the UK time.
Right. Okay. See, I never knew they were just an hour ahead. I suppose geographically it makes sense. Yeah, Bo Nix, let's talk about him. I mean, ankle injury was the thing that did obviously cost him. I've been looking at what they've been saying about him. I mean, there's been some great footage on training camp of his throws to Cortland Sutton, and there's a great one-handed catch from Jaylen Waddle. And there's a lot of talk from different beat writers in Denver about the connection between Waddle and Nix already starting to shape up and be good. And from looking at these clips on social media, it looks like he hasn't missed a beat. You wouldn't think looking at him, I'm looking at him throw, and it's not the throw you expect from someone who has been out injured for a while. Bo Nix said himself he feels good. So yeah, kind of for you, what are you expecting from Nix? Because he obviously come back from an injury is always tough. What are you expecting out of Nix in 2026?
I want to say just more of the same with Bo Nix. I think I don't all the Denver Broncos fans are going to tell you how Bo Nix has changed our lives, but I don't think Bo Nix has the PR he deserves across the league. I don't think people realize how good he is. Like since he's come into the league, he's tied Russell Wilson for the most wins for your first 2 years, right? Bo Nix is a very good quarterback who knows how to win in the league. I've seen multiple times where he's outplayed quarterbacks who people say that are better than him. I think he's historically good at avoiding sacks. Like I think there's a whole stat about how good he is avoiding sacks. And I'm not gonna be out here and say, oh, he's the best arm, he's the best QB from his draft class, blah 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 blah. But I think the intangibles, because he's a coach's son, the intangibles he has just leads to winning. And we've already seen that at first, like in his first rookie season, we saw I remember his first 3 games. His debut game against the Seahawks, there's a pick he threw in the second half. You hear the commentators just go, "Oh no!" And I remember that because it was those throws you make in Madden where you press the wrong button and it's just like, oh, like ugh. But he learned, he's grown into the game, and now I feel like the NFL is coming easy to him. We had a lot of 1 possession game wins last year, which I think the difference is this year we'll need to put teams away. But I think the best things he's good at is he knows how to win in the league. He's historically good at avoiding sacks. He's actually really good running as well. Like I think he's a dual threat, but people don't look at him as a dual threat because he just doesn't have that mold of a dual threat, and we don't have that many designed run plays for him. But ultimately, I think you're just going to see a better Bo Nix because now he has better receivers next to him, and hopefully our run game will be the same. So I feel like this year for Bo, people around the league are really going to start putting him in the conversations he deserves to be in.
Yeah, I mean, we saw some, I think we saw year 1 as time went on. He saw massive improvement. He saw a kind of leap from his early struggles to then by the end of the season, when he got to that game against the Bills, the one he lost in his rookie year, he was a completely different quarterback. And I think we've seen him progress once again. And I think for me, he's shown, all the intangibles that I think you'd want from your quarterback. I think he's been able to perform in the big moments. He's been able to excel when the lights are on him, which I don't think every quarterback can say they are someone who does that. I mean, there's plenty of quarterbacks, Kirk Cousins, Tua, who have never been good in those big spots. And yeah, I do believe I had him 15th in our quarterback ranking, which was high out of the two of us. I think Sam had him a lot lower, but I do believe that he is someone that I think you give him, well, now you give him a second weapon in Jaylen Waddle rather than just having purely Sutton. You can't see him, obviously, the injury, if he does struggle to come back from the injury, but if he comes back fully healthy and nothing's too bad, then I do believe that he can just grow and grow it, and and I think all the signs are there of a quarterback who's going to take you guys one step further. And speaking of which, I mean, we kind of asked a similar question to our Seahawks fan, talking about the NFC West, where I asked him about the fact that does a tough division make it really hard to repeat the Super Bowl? Now, for you, obviously having the number one seed last year, you win a division, you're in a conference which, albeit is easier than the NFC, is not as strong. But you think about the teams you've got in that division. You've got the Chiefs, who I think will be back. I think if you've got Mahomes fully healthy again, I just don't see him being bad 2 years in a row. You've got the Chargers, who in the regular season have been excellent with Justin Herbert. And then you've got the Raiders, who, albeit have got Kirk Cousins playing, and then a rookie quarterback if he isn't playing. But they got, a great defense now with their additions in the offseason and keeping Max Crosby. Do you think that tough schedule in terms of having to play these teams twice a season, do you think that will make it harder to repeat the AFC number one seed? Or do you think having these games against such big teams in the regular season will only help you when it comes to the postseason and big moments there?
A bit of both. I think personally, us being in the AFC West, I think that just happens. Like, when Bo Nix came in, he knew he had to play the Chargers twice a year. He knows he has to see Patrick Mahomes twice a year, whether he likes it or not. That's just what it is to be the Denver Broncos. However, I know we're going to look at our schedule later. I think if you do look at our first 6-7 games, which are absolutely ridiculous for anyone, but I think personally, it's going to help us see where we're at, because Denver Broncos fans ultimately think we are the best team. And I personally think we have the most stacked roster in the league, other than the Rams, if you do paper-wise. But if we play the Rams, I'm going to take the Broncos over the Rams because I'm a Broncos fan. So it's like our first 6 games is going to be a litmus test for, we know we're good, but just to confirm and let everyone else around the league know that last season just wasn't a fluke. And we are legit one of the best teams in the league. I think that's what's going to be. And to be the best, you got to beat the best, right? So I'm really looking forward to the schedule. I'm looking forward to playing in Kansas City week 1. I'm looking forward for everyone to really take notice of the Denver Broncos this season and be like, okay, this is one of the best teams in the AFC. Bo Nix is one of the guys. We have to put the Denver Broncos in this conversation that's a team I don't want to face. So I'm all for it. I know, going up against, we've got the NFC West this year. So we're going to have games against Seattle, San Francisco, the Rams, the Cardinals as well. But we were NFC South champions a few years ago. I think last season did we have the NFC East? No, we had the NFC East before that. So now it's the West. But we seem to be doing well against the NFC team. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about the offense a lot, but I think even your defense is going to help you win games and sort of in these big moments against these offenses that include, JSN and Sam Darnold. You think about, Justin Herbert twice a year, Mahomes twice a year. You think about that Rams team, you've got Puka Nacua, you've got Kieran Williams, you've got Matt Stafford, the reigning MVP. And the kind of players you're playing this year are really tough players to play against. But you've got a team that has, the second least yards allowed in a game per game last season. You had the top 10 pass defense. You had a run defense that was second in the entire league, and only 2 teams allowed less points in the season than you. So this defense has, the likes of Nick Benito, Patrick Surtain, who I think personally is, the best cornerback in the entire game. You've got Hafunga, Alex Singleton, Cooper. This is a good defense. We saw it last year, and anyone who who went to the Broncos game would have seen, first of all, a very defensive game. It wasn't maybe the best game for maybe fans who are trying to get into the sport, but certainly if you like defensive football, that was a great game. It was tight towards the end, and you saw the defense do exactly what I think, is one of their strengths, is that when Bo Nix was struggling out there, which every team can have that now and again, every team has these days where the offense just can't get it going. When you got a defense like that is bailing you out with performances like they had against the Jets many times last season, that can only give you confidence when playing against these electric offenses that they can keep you in games and even win games alone just on that side of the ball.
Yeah, 100%. Like, it's so surprising when 20 minutes in and I haven't really raved about our defense, but our defense is better than our offense. It's just nice to see that we now have weapons on our offense. But as you said, we've got the best corner in football who can shut down one half of the field. Talanoa Hufanga was a massive pickup last year. And the performances he did last year was really helpful in the backfield. And what's funny is that he dropped so many balls last season, and he even said that. So if he can just learn how to catch, we're going to be even better. We have an historic pass rush. Zach Allen had the most QB pressures. Nick Bonito and Jonathan Cooper is a crazy pass rush, and we're so good at getting at the quarterback. So there's not that many holes in our defense. Like, you can say Riley Moss gave up the most penalty yards last season. That's something we need to work on. But we picked up Jahdae Barron in the first last season, and he had an okay rookie year. But he's going into year 2 now, and he's going to push for that other starting role as well. J. Cole McMillan as well. We've got so many guys that people might not know around the league, but at the end of the day, when they're playing up against other people in the league, these guys make plays, and this is why I personally think we have one of the best defenses in the league. So. And we saw it last season where a lot of our games, we won these one possession games because our defense kept us in the game. I remember on the road to the Eagles last season, who were the reigning Super Bowl champs, we were down by 2 possessions. And that was only because our defense kept us in that game. And then we go on the fourth quarter, come back, Bo Nix puts on the cape and says, yeah, let me go win this game for you guys. And he does that. And that happens so many times last season where our defense would keep us in the game and we just tell number 10 to go do what he does and do it. And at the end of the day, it's a formula for winning. I guess we don't want to win like that this season, but the fact that is we're going into a year saying, okay, we want to win like this rather than win like that, instead of just we need to win, is a bonus and is a testament to the team that George Payton and Sean Payton have built over the past few years.
Yeah, I think, when you put it like that and you think you've got Cortland Sutton, Jaylen Waddle and Bo Nix, and your offense isn't even the best part of your team, then I think that, you could even argue it goes defense, Sean Payton, and offense in terms of the strength of the team. So it's a scary prospect, it really is, and I kind of wish my team had that luxury. And funny we mentioned the Broncos in London. Last time I saw you in person was actually at the Broncos practice session in October last year. I mean, for you personally, we both ourselves got to experience watching our teams practice in person. Mine was a little bit further than London, in Madrid, but you got to see it basically in your back door. Just how's that for you, being able to work there and just being able to attend your team practicing and being that close to your players? 'Cause I remember at one point we were talking, and then next thing you know, there's a golf cart where the players were going onto the field, and I can't remember who the players were, but I remember just. Yeah, for you, that must have been amazing, just being that up and close with your team's players.
Yeah, that was honestly a great experience. And like being in the press huddle as well, getting to ask Sean Payton a question about my team. And it was just like, I can't explain it. Like, I felt like I wasn't really doing media. I just felt like I was just talking to Sean Payton as if like I was on my couch and say, what do you think about this? And stuff like that. And I think that was such a great experience just to see the players close up as well. And I remember like when we were on the train back, I was speaking to some of the guys on the practice squad, and that was just like such a cool moment to have, and really like just deepened my love for the Denver Broncos. So yeah, that was such a cool experience, and I'm so glad that we got to do that, and like we get to have these opportunities. And even still, like it just gave me a better insight into the team and the culture that they were trying to build.
Yeah, incredible. Because I remember when that was unfolding, because we were waiting at the same platform, and then before I know it, you were gone, and then I can see in the distance you were talking to some Broncos players, and I was like, oh wow, that's pretty cool. Yeah, that must have been amazing. I was hoping that when I got to Madrid later on that year, I'd be on the same train as Jaylen Waddle, as Bradley Chubb, or who else, like Jordan Brooks or someone like that. But no, amazing experience, and reminded me of a few weeks before that in Dublin. Friend of the show, Freddie, we got to get the same Uber and even go to the pub with two Steelers players, which I've mentioned a few times on the show. So to have that, and then just 2 weeks later seeing you with your team's players, that was quite a funny coincidence, and it was a nice few weeks there. But let's head to our final segment, which is win, lose, or tie. So for those of you that aren't familiar with this segment of the show, each fan that comes on predicts their team's overall record by going through each game and answering with the simple answer, win, lose, or tie. Now, Tony, you were on a year ago for this exact show. The Broncos went 14-3 last season. Do you by chance remember what your prediction was a year ago?
I want to say I definitely didn't predict 14 wins. I think I maybe predicted 12.
11-6.
11-6. Wow, look at me being humble.
I mean, to be fair, looking at all the predictions for last season, there weren't many that predicted a team to have less wins than they got. I mean, Seahawks fan Javan, he predicted 8 wins, and obviously we all know what happened there. God, that is really underselling the team there. But no, that a lot of times we get people come on, they're optimistic, they go for X amount wins, and it's often less. So it's rare to see someone who has less wins than they actually got. But you're hoping this season that your predictions will be true, or close to being truer, and certainly closer than 3 wins. And you start off in week 1, Monday Night Football, on the road to the Chiefs. Tony, win, lose, or tie?
Definite win on the road to Kansas City. I think I listen. I'm a Bo Nix stan, so people are gonna listen to this are probably not gonna believe me, but Bo Nix has never, every time Bo Nix has played against Patrick Mahomes, he's always outplayed him. Even in the loss where we had that blocked field goal, I think in his rookie season, Bo Nix has always seemed to raise his game up against Patrick Mahomes. And how healthy is Patrick Mahomes going to be in week 1? We still don't know. We're not even sure he's going to be 100% by then. So I'm going for a win.
Yeah, I feel like the NFL knows what they're doing. I feel like they wouldn't have put the Chiefs Broncos on if they weren't confident that both Nix and Mahomes would be there. Because I can imagine, first game of the season, Monday Night Football, if you're getting Jarrett Stidham against, I don't know, Garrett Nussmeier, I think that would be the NFL and ESPN. They wouldn't.
Oh, no, isn't who's their backup now? Justin Fields.
Oh, of course.
Jarrett Stidham versus Justin Fields week 1. Wow, imagine.
We got the Jets on next. I can't believe I forgot the Justin Fields there. Week 2 is your first home game of the season and the first of back-to-back home games as you take on the Jaguars.
Yeah, definite win. It's that's a weird one because we were on a roll last season and we completely got battered by the Jaguars when they were running the table trying to make that late playoff rush last season. So yeah, I think we want revenge for that game in week 2. It's a definite win.
Well, week 3 is a home game, as I said before, but this time you are taking on the Los Angeles Rams.
Now, I personally think it's a win because we're at home. However, I think to be realistic, and because the Rams will be the hardest game we play, I think I might just put an L here. Not because I think we're going to lose. I genuinely do think we're going to beat the Rams. But I feel like if I say we're going to win here, I'm probably going to predict us going 16-0. So, there's or 17-0, sorry. So there's just no point. So I think just to balance it out, I'm going to say a loss here.
Well, week 4, you're sticking with the NFC West, but this time you're on the road to the 49ers.
Win. I'm not worried about the 49ers. I think we can go to San Fran and deal with them. And regardless of, let's say if we lose to the Rams, I think we're going to have a chip on our shoulder to go to San Fran and beat them. And I think that'll be a really good game. So I think we've got something for Brock Purdy and go.
Well, yeah, I mean, I remember a few years ago you playing them on, I believe it was Sunday Night Football, where Jimmy G, I want to say, was he sacked in his own end zone, I want to say? It was
yes.
I remember that game being I remember being in Seattle and I being amazed. I was watching a night game at 5 p.m. That blew my mind. But I remember that game very well, even though it wasn't the best game. I just remember when I think of Niners Broncos, I think of that moment where Jimmy G got sacked in his own end zone. I think I've mentioned it on our Niners preview. I mentioned it when we've had teams who have played the Niners in the win-loss tie segment. I think it all depends on if their players are healthy. I think if their players are healthy, they're a tough team to play, and I think they could go quite far. But I do believe if you have their big stars like last season injured, and they even went far in the playoffs last year with the injuries, I do think that's a whole different story. So I do believe the Niners, it's often the case of who's playing. I think if they're fully healthy, I think they're a hard team to stop. But there's a great chance, as we've proved the last few years, that they'll have at least one of their stars injured for this game.
Yeah, that is true. Like, I feel like if we go up against a healthy 49ers team, it could be difficult. But as long as the Broncos stay healthy, I don't think there's many teams that are better than us in the league.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Well, week 5, you are sticking on the road and sticking on the West Coast as you take on the Chargers at SoFi.
Again, I think you never know with the Chargers, and I think I'm just going to take a loss here. The loss to the Chargers last year was complete BS in my opinion. So I'm going to say a loss just to make sure the record looks pretty decent, because I'm going to say win for most of the other ones. So I would say we lose there.
Well, week 6, you are taking on the reigning Super Bowl champions, the team you could have very easily played in that game, the Seahawks.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the Seahawks, which sounds crazy. I think the Seahawks are a very good team, but we'll be at home. I think we can deal with Sam Darnold. I think no Kenneth Walker is going to be a massive miss for them as well. JSN versus Pat Surtain is going to be a great matchup if they're both healthy at that time. And I think we have enough to nullify some of that Seahawks defense. So yeah, I'm going to go with a win.
Well, week 7, you're sticking with the NFC West, and this time you are taking on at State Farm Stadium the Arizona Cardinals.
Lost, no, I'm joking. No, win. No offense to Arizona and the Cardinal fans, but they're kind of in a limbo bit at the moment. So yeah, I definitely see us winning there.
Well, week 8, you are playing the Chiefs for the second time already at this stage, just 8 weeks in, but this time you're at home.
Yeah, win for me. I like that we're getting rid of the Chiefs quite early, just in case Patrick Mahomes starts to become the Patrick Mahomes we once know. I like that we're getting them out in the early. So yeah, a win for me.
So then, before your week 10 bye, you have a week 9 clash on the road to the Panthers.
Win. I like Carolina. I think Bryce Young is a good quarterback. I think they had a really good season last year as well, like towards the end. So, but I don't think they can beat us. So yeah, I'm going for a win.
So after your week 10 bye, you have a week 11 clash at home to the Las Vegas Raiders.
Win. Not going to be a great win though. Every time we play the Raiders, we just play to their nonsense. Like, for people that remember the Thursday night football game that we played the Raiders in, I think at Allegiant, it was a terrible, terrible watch. Even though we got the win, it was just a terrible watch. And I always feel like when we play the Raiders, we just have brain farts. At least those brain farts turned into wins, and they weren't losses, and that streak against the Raiders is over. But I feel like that will be a win, but not a great win.
I kind of feel like that's the nearest equivalent to an AFC North battle. It's defensive, it's hard-blooded, it's aggressive. Both teams will excel on defense this season. So I think that could be, a low-scoring defensive shootout, I believe, in that game. Week 12, you're facing the Pittsburgh Steelers on the road.
It'll be fun. It'll be fun to go against the Steelers. I think the Steelers are always a fun team to beat, to play against. But I do think we can get the dub there in Pittsburgh.
Well, week 13 is the Jaylen Waddle Bowl as you host the Dolphins.
Sorry, man, but that's a straight win. I have no idea how your season's gonna plan out, especially by week 13. So I feel like that's a straight win for us.
Well, to kind of give you an insight into how me and the two other Dolphins fans that came on the show to preview our season is we are, as a trio, down as so far in 17, 18 season previews, the least optimistic fans. So if you haven't listened, do check it out if you haven't already, because we have recorded that one and it is out by now. So do check it out and find out exactly what record we went for and why we are the least optimistic fans so far in these season previews. God, it's going to be awful. Week 14, you're sticking with the AFC East, but this time you're on the road to the Jets.
A win. I don't get why we play the Jets every single year. Like I'm sure they're sick of us and we're sick of them, but we always seem to just beat them. So unless Nathaniel Hackett's our coach, so yeah, I'm going for a win there.
So in week 15 is your second encounter with the Raiders, this time at Allegiant Stadium.
Yeah, another win. Not a great win, but another win.
So week 16, this game is on Christmas Day on at 2:30 p.m. Denver time, which I'm assuming is 7:30 p.m. in the UK. My 2:30 p.m. Denver times, that would be, oh my goodness, what is that in UK time?
They're mountain time, so I think that would be 8 or 9.
Perfect. You had dinner out the way, Christmas Day. All the relatives are gone. It's all the obligations to speak to people in your family are gone. So you can relax, take a seat, and put on some NFL football.
Who are you playing?
Oh, I didn't say. Sorry, you're playing the Bills.
Oh yeah, 100% win. That'll be a good game. I think Josh Allen will be coming for revenge for that game in the divisional last season, but I feel like we've got the Bills' number. I feel like I remember winning in the regular season against them on the road with Russell Wilson. We obviously had Bo Nix's first playoff game, which was a learning curve for all of us, but the AFC divisional game showed that we can take it to the Bills and Josh Allen as well, who kind of threw that game. I know some people like to blame Sean McDermott for it, but I think Josh Allen kind of threw that game away as well. And yeah, I don't mind going up against the Bills on Christmas Day. I think that'll be a fun one.
Well, then week 17 is your final road game of the season, in the regular season at least. You're taking on the Patriots.
A win. I think we need revenge for the AFC Championship game, because that was just one of the most annoying games to watch, because I don't think the Patriots had to do much to beat us. I don't think it was just, I feel like every Broncos fan was just hoping that Jarrett Stidham would give us something, and there wasn't that much to be optimistic about. And in the back of our minds, we were all just thinking, what would Bo Nix have done? What would Bo Nix have done? And so week 17, maybe Bo Nix might be resting because we've already clinched the number 1 seed according to my record, but I still think of a win just in case.
I mean, I speak for myself and all Dolphins fans that we were all rooting for Jarrett Stidham that day. I can tell you that. Then week 18 is your final game of the regular season. You're taking on the Chargers. Tony, for the final time this episode, win, lose, or tie.
So if I say lose, then we have the exact same record as last season, and I think we can do one better. So I'm going to have to say win, just because I feel like this is the team we see this year will be a much better team. Oh, okay, I wouldn't say much better, but there will be an improvement. There'll be an improvement on the team we saw last year. So I'm going to go with win, and just maybe a one win difference from last season.
Well, that means 15-2 record you're predicting. That puts you, along with the Ravens and Seahawks, as the joint most optimistic fan so far in our season preview series. We've got
the Ravens.
Yeah, 15-2. So you've got some optimistic fans there, and yeah, them and the Seahawks reign supreme as the before you came on, the two most optimistic fans.
Seahawks, I can imagine, sure, high off the back of the Super Bowl makes sense. The Ravens, I love Lamar Jackson. I think maybe just because John Harbaugh's not there anymore, they're thinking Lamar's gonna have the shackles off and all of that. So maybe, but hey, if I'm being optimistic, I'm here for it. This is the most optimistic I've ever been. as a Broncos fan, and the fact that even Sean Payton's not going to be calling plays and it's going to be Davis Webb, is like everything we wanted as Broncos fans is happening, and we've got that other offensive weapon now. We don't have to rely on, and this is no disrespect to Troy Franklin, Pat Bryant, Marvin Mims, but Bo Nix was throwing to guys that some NFL fans don't even know who they were. So now that we've got Jaylen Waddle, Cortland Sutton, we've got talent on offense, we've got talent on defense. We had the most all pros last season. It's just a very good I'm just so optimistic for this season, and I think we can go all the way.
So you're predicting a Super Bowl or a Super Bowl appearance, or how are you thinking? Are you saying they're going to go all the way and win it all?
Depending on who we get in the Super Bowl, but I think all the way. I genuinely, I think last season's objective was to win the division. Like, I remember that was the talk coming from the camp, was saying, okay, let's try and win the division. Like, that should be our aim. And because we won the division quite comfortably, and we felt like we could have, and we won the AFC really and truly, we had the best record in the AFC, I think we have to progress. I think we have to do better. And I think the things and the moves we made in the offseason is alluding to that. So I think it has to be Super Bowl appearance minimum.
Interesting. Love that. Well, that is the end of the show. So, Tony, first of all, a huge thanks for coming on today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for letting me talk about my beloved Broncos for 40 minutes. And yeah, it's always been good to do these previews.
Well, always good to have you on, mate. And if you are listening to the show, make sure you keep an eye out for Tony, his voice on TalkSport, and I believe as well the United Stand. So keep an eye out for Tony on all good things there. But in the meantime, this has been the Denver Broncos season preview, 18 out of 32. I have been, as ever, your host today, Andy Davis, and our guest in Broncos fan, Toni Afoke. And we'll see you guys next time. Take care.